I've been thinking about, and a lot of people actually have been emailing about, how do we celebrate Hanukkah? Right? There's genocide going on, there's ethnic cleansing going on, and unlike, I was thinking tonight, I was driving here about the Rabbi in the Warsaw Ghetto, and how he continued and insisted on celebrating the holidays in the ghetto. But this is different, because we're not in the ghetto. We are causing the destruction and devastation. We are not the ones receiving it at this time. And so it just feels almost blasphemous to be celebrating as a Jew in this particular moment when, in the name of Judaism, in the name of the Jewish people, a genocide is being conducted in our names. I have to pause there for a moment. So Reverend Munther Isaac of the Evangelical Lutheran Christmas Church in Bethlehem, you might have heard him speak last year. And last year he said, Christ is in the rubble. This year, he said, Christ is still in the rubble. And this is his words: the rubble is his manger. Jesus finds his place with the marginalized, the tormented, the oppressed, and the displaced. We look at the Holy Family and see them in every displaced and homeless family living in despair. So how do we celebrate while this genocide and ethnic cleansing is happening in Gaza and the West Bank? I don't know if I have the answer to that question, but I'm going to try to share my thoughts about this. We do what Jews have done for thousands of years. We take historical events and make meaning out of them. We create rituals out of them. We will make this holiday spiritually and politically relevant for this moment that we're living in today, because this is what we do. And we'll do it with tears and with joy. So we'll find ways, I hope, to balance and hold the pain and grief and rage of the genocide and ethnic cleansing. And as we celebrate and dance and sing, because human beings also get to celebrate and dance and sing, we will also, in our freedom, in our joy, we will commit to continuing to show up throughout the season and throughout the year until everyone is liberated and free, until every single person experiences dignity and respect, until everyone has safety and peace from all rivers to all seas. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how I think Hanukkah can be mobilized and understood in a way that uplifts struggles for liberation and justice in Palestine, as well as here in the United States and around the world. Hanukkah is a holiday in which we celebrate liberation struggles and also celebrate the miracle or divine intervention or presence in the universe. And like our other festivals, Hanukkah also happens at the season of the transforming of light from darkness to more light. And this is part of what we do in Judaism. We take events that happen in history and we connect them to the pagan rituals, and then we make meaning out of them. And so that's what Hanukkah is. It's a celebration of liberation, and it's a celebration of miracles, and it's a recognition that we can bring our light into the world to bring more justice and peace and love into our world. So I'm hoping that we can find a way in this moment to make it meaningful as we simultaneously denounce what is happening. Denying joy and not allowing ourselves to celebrate and be grateful for what we have is not the answer, and it's not going to stop the genocide. So it's a challenge. So what is the story of Hanukkah? I just explained it's a celebration of liberation and also miracles. So what is this story of Hanukkah? Turns out it depends on who you ask and what you read. So there are two different books that tell the story of Hanukkah. The first book of Maccabees presents the events as a revolt of pious Jews against the Greek Empire, who defiled the temple and sought to suppress circumcision, observance of Shabbat, kashrut, and other practices mandated by Jewish law. The uprising was led by a family of Judea Maccabee. They succeeded, and a quarter century later established the Hasmonean dynasty. They became corrupt oppressors, and the dynasty collapsed in a civil war that ultimately led to direct Roman rule over Judea. The second book of Maccabees presents the events as a struggle between rural traditionalist Jews and Hellenizing Jews in Jerusalem, who eagerly embraced aspects of Greek culture, which they viewed as more sophisticated. Modern scholars tend to accept the perspective of Second Maccabees and understand the revolt as a civil war between traditionalist and reformist Jews. History, it turns out, repeats itself. We could look at Israel today and see a debate and an internal civil war happening between traditionalist, so-called traditionalist, and so-called reformist Jews. So the Talmudic rabbis did something very interesting. They transformed the story of Hanukkah from one of military might and victory into a miracle. They disapproved of glorifying the military and dynastic history of Hanukkah. They were wary of celebrating human military power and conflict that pitted Jews against Jews. So they introduced the story of the Maccabees finding only enough of the sanctified oil for one night to light the menorah and rededicate the temple. You're familiar with this story, the miracle of 8 nights, right? Yet it miraculously burned for 8 days. This placed divine intervention rather than human military power at the center of the holiday. In other words, the miracle was not that the few stood up to the many and defeated them. The miracle was that this oil burned for 8 nights. Some Jews still prefer to emphasize the military victory of the Maccabees as vindication for the state of Israel and Zionism. The other day, I read a post by a Reform rabbi who claimed that Hanukkah and Zionism go hand in hand. He wrote, Hanukkah is about celebrating the military victory of the few over the many. He even says, Zionism is about reminding the world that there are people who seek our destruction and we must live by the sword. Oy, I refuse to embrace that vision of Hanukkah. If we live by the sword, we die by the sword. And it's rather ironic that this is what a rabbi's saying, of course, because that's exactly what the rabbis were concerned about when they rewrote Hanukkah as a celebration of divine intervention and miracles. And in fact, in the Haftorah that we read on Hanukkah, it ends in the following words, not by might or sword, but by my spirit shall you sustain. So the rabbinic move to reject violent revolution and fanaticism and transform it into a spiritual message, it's a good one. I like that. Right? I definitely want a nonviolent Judaism that embraces spirituality. But in doing so, they essentially reject the underlying needs and yearnings that give rise to revolutionary struggles. We can criticize the violent means taken, but the yearning for liberation, I want to uplift, right? This yearning lives in all of us. So Hanukkah offers us, I think, a third path, one that integrates both divine presence in the universe and human beings' revolutionary yearnings for liberation. Nonviolent struggles for liberation, justice, peace, and love are also spiritual struggles, ultimately to transform societies We must transform people's hearts and minds. Part of the work of revolutionary movements is to help people see and believe in the possibilities of possibilities, that transformation from oppression to freedom is in fact possible and in fact will happen. And that belief, that hope, that faith is a belief in the transformative power of the universe. Yud-Hey, Vav-Hey. It's that energy in the universe that makes possible the transformation from that which is this nightmare of this moment to that which can and ought to be. And that energy lives within each and every one of us and extends beyond all of us. It is the spiritual energy of the universe, the cosmic consciousness, Allah, Yod-Hey, Vav-Hey, or whatever term you choose to use. So we can do both. We can uplift the miraculousness, the miracle of life itself, as Heschel says, the inconceivable surprise of living, and from there be in awe, wonder, and radical amazement of the universe itself at this incredible moment in which we get to be alive and struggle for the liberation for all. And we can engage in rituals and practices, including lighting the Hanukkah candles, that remind us to connect with the divine light of creation, with divine source itself. And when we hold on to the miracle and awe and wonder, it can inspire us to make our practices, our liturgical movement, and our rituals meaning, real, and even revolutionary. We can be a part of a revolutionary movement that seeks to help overthrow the forces that deny the promise, the hope, and the vision of a loving and just world, and uplift those forces instead. And we can ground that in nonviolent revolution and tactics. The miracle is not the burning of the oil for 8 days. The miracle is a human spirit itself that throughout history and across the globe has refused to succumb to or give into oppressive regimes. In spite of the odds and overwhelming violence enacted against them, human beings continue again and again and again. Right now, in this moment, human beings are refusing to let oppressive regimes define their limitations or who they are. And they stand up and struggle against them again and again and again. It is truly miraculous, right? To see the courage and audacity of human beings face their oppressors and say no. So on Hanukkah, we uplift that element of humanity, which is also part of the spiritual divine element and energy of the universe. We hold both and, namely the divine spark of life, of light and life that lives within each of us, and the transformative power of the universe that makes possible the transformation from that which is to that which can and ought to be. So we remember and rededicate Hanukkah. Hanukkah means rededication, as a time to uplift liberation and revolutionary struggles throughout the world. We commit to shining our own light into the world and believing in the possibilities of miracles, because we are the sparks that bring forth liberation, justice, love, and peace for all. And that is the miracle. So, in the face of genocide and ethnic cleansing, how do we embrace or celebrate this holiday? That, my friends, is my answer. I hope it resonates for you.